Making one pour over is pretty straightforward, but making enough for 4 people? That's where things suddenly go wrong. You use the same recipe, same grind, same pouring style, and somehow the coffee ends up bitter, muddy, weak, or all three at once. And the annoying part is, it's not random. Once you scale up a pour over, the water actually starts behaving differently. So today I'm making an 800ml pour over, enough for 4 cups, and I'll show you what actually needs to change when you brew for a group. I'm using a Chemex for the demo, but don't switch off if you use the V60. The same fundamentals apply to any larger pour-over brew. The brewer might change, but the basic problem is the same. Once you scale up, water behaves differently. For this brew, I'm going to use our Costa Rica Villa Sachi natural process light roast from Finca Las Mercedes, because coffees like this are actually a really good test for larger pour-overs. They've got loads of sweetness and fruitiness, but if your extraction gets a bit muddy or uneven, you lose a lot of what makes the coffee interesting in the first place. The main thing that changes is resistance. When you add more coffee, the bed gets deeper, and that means the water has to travel through more coffee before it reaches the bottom of the brewer, so the brew usually drains more slowly. With a Chemex, that effect is even stronger because the filter paper is much thicker than a standard V60 filter. That thick paper is part of why Chemex coffee tastes so clean and elegant, but it also means bigger brews can choke up if your grind is too fine. So the first adjustment is probably the exact opposite of what people expect. For a larger batch, you usually want to grind slightly coarser than you would for a single cup. Not massively coarser, not cafetiere coarse, just a small step coarser. Think of it like giving the water a bit more room to move through the coffee. If your 1 cup V60 grind works beautifully for 250 mils, that does not mean it will behave the same way when you're brewing 800 mils. The same grind with a deeper bed can suddenly cause too much resistance. That's when the brew slows down, the coffee spends too long in contact with the water, and the flavour gets pushed into that bitter, dry, muddy zone. For bigger pour-overs, I tend to like coffees that are sweet, balanced, and forgiving. Something with a bit of body usually works really well. Very delicate coffees can still be amazing, but if the brew is slightly off, they can sometimes feel a bit thin or get lost in the batch. So if you're making coffee for guests, I usually lean towards something with sweetness and structure, rather than the most fragile, high acidity coffee you own. Right, recipe. For this brew, I'm using 50 grams of coffee and 800 grams of water. That gives you about 4 cups, and it puts us at a 1:16 ratio, which is a solid starting point for this kind of brew. Before adding water, grind your coffee. On the Fellow Ode Gen 2, I'm going somewhere between a 7 and an 8 for this recipe. Obviously that number won't translate perfectly to every grinder, so the visual is more useful than the setting. This is what the grind looks like. Not powdery, not chunky, somewhere around medium coarse. And this is also where grinder cleanliness starts mattering more than people realise. If your grinder's full of old fines and coffee dust, larger brews can sometimes clog up much more easily because all those tiny particles collect against the filter and slow the drawdown even more. You don't need a laboratory clean grinder, but if your Chemex suddenly starts taking forever, it's worth checking. You still want enough surface area to extract sweetness and flavour, but enough space between the particles that the water can actually move through the bed. And this is one of those tiny habits that makes homebrewing so much easier. Make a note of the grind setting, especially for different batch sizes. If this 800ml brew tastes great at a 7.5 on your grinder, write that down. Next time you've got a starting point instead of relying on your memory, which, if it's anything like mine before coffee, is not to be trusted. Now, rinse the filter properly. With Chemex filters, I mean properly. They're thick, and if you don't rinse them well, you can get a paper taste in the cup. Rinsing also preheats the brewer, which matters much more with a larger brew because the brew's going to take longer. If you start with a cold Chemex, you lose heat before you've even really begun. Tip out the rinsed water, add your ground coffee, and give the brewer a gentle shake to level the bed. You don't need to do anything dramatic here. You're just trying to start with a nice even surface so the water has a better chance of moving evenly through the coffee. Now we bloom. For smaller pour-overs, people often say to use twice the weight of the coffee for the bloom. That still works, but with a bigger batch, I'm happy going slightly higher. So with 50 grams of coffee, I'd use somewhere around 100 to 150 grams of water for the bloom. The number is not the important bit. The important bit is making sure all the grounds are saturated. With a deeper bed, it's easier to create dry pockets. There's more coffee sitting in the filter, and if you're too cautious with the bloom, some of it just doesn't get properly wet. So pour steadily, cover the whole bed, and actually look at what's happening. Are there dry patches around the edge? Is the bloom swelling up evenly? Does everything look saturated? That visual feedback matters more than hitting exactly 123 grams because a recipe told you to. If it needs a bit more water to get everything wet, use a bit more water. Then let it bloom for around 45 seconds. If the coffee is fresh, you'll usually see it puff up and release gas. That's normal, just let it do its thing. After the bloom, we're going to pour in controlled stages. The aim is not to create a tiny, fussy competition routine. The aim is to keep the brew moving evenly without flooding it all at once. I'll usually pour up to around 300 grams, let it drain a little, then continue in a few steady pours until I reach 800 grams total. You can do this as 3 or 4 pours. You do not need to hit every number perfectly. What matters is the rhythm. If you pour too aggressively, you can dig into the bed, stir up loads of fines, and create uneven extraction. If you pour too slowly and timidly, the slurry just sits there, losing heat, and the brew can drag on forever. So aim for calm, steady pouring. Enough movement to keep the coffee bed active, not so much that you're battering it. The height that you're pouring from also matters. A few inches would be fine. This is also where you want to start watching the brew rather than only watching the scale. The scale tells you how much water you've added, but the coffee tells you how the brew is behaving. If the water's dropping really quickly and the bed looks like it's draining almost instantly, that's useful information. If the water's barely moving and the brewer looks like it's starting to stall, that's useful too. You don't necessarily need to fix it mid-brew, just notice it, because that's what helps you adjust next time. For this 800ml recipe, I would expect the total brew time to land somewhere around 6 minutes, depending on the coffee, grinder, filter, and how you pour. But don't treat that like a law. Taste matters more than a stopwatch. Look at the clarity of that coffee. So vibrant. There you have it, guys. Coffee for a group, or just 4 cups for yourself. Done. One thing to note for me there is that next time I'd prefer to have hotter water. I feel like it could have done with a tiny bit more extraction, but the grind size was good. If it takes a little longer but tastes sweet, clean and balanced, that's fine. If it takes ages and tastes bitter, dry or muddy, go a bit coarser next time. If it rushes through and tastes weak, sour or hollow, go a bit finer next time. That's why taking notes is genuinely useful. Not obsessive notes, not a spreadsheet that makes everyone avoid eye contact with you. Just the basics. Coffee amount, water amount, grind setting, rough brew time, and how it tasted. Because once you start doing that, you stop guessing. You can actually build your own recipes around your grinder, your brewer, your water, and the coffees you like. And that's important because coffee advice online can only get you so far. Someone can tell you, use this grind setting or aim for this time, but your setup might behave completely differently. Your grinder might produce more fines, your kettle might pour faster, your filter might drain differently, your coffee might be more dense, more fragile, more developed, more fresh, less fresh. So the real skill is not memorizing one perfect recipe, it's learning what the brew is telling you. And this is the bit that people often miss. Most bad brews are not fixed by changing everything at once. If you change the grind, the ratio, the water temperature, the coffee, the pour structure, and the filter all in one go, you'll never know what helped. Change one thing, taste again, and then adjust. That's how you actually get better at brewing. The reason I like this kind of large pour over is that it's practical. It's not about making one tiny precious cup while everyone else waits around pretending they're fine with instant. It's about making a proper pot of coffee that tastes good, serves a few people, and doesn't turn breakfast into a full science experiment. And when you get it right, it's brilliant. You get that clean, sweet, balanced pour-over flavour, but in a batch big enough that everyone can actually drink together. If you like pour-overs, you may want to experiment with this Japanese flash brew recipe we came up with. Or if you want to learn the easiest way to make your coffee taste better, click this video here. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.